This is your family's first and most important line of defense against Mother Nature. When she strikes, make sure you call the people that I trust, my family and friends at Exterior Home Solutions.
An active day here at the Anderson Training Center. Got all kinds of stuff going on in the background. But we're talking football. Tennessee returns to the practice field on this Tuesday. First time since spring break. Got to hear from Josh Heupel. Got to hear from a trio of receivers and Ethan Davis. A receiving unit that is young but ready to prove themselves.
Well, and year two, and that's the question. How much growth is there for year two? You have such a history in this program of guys taking a big leap from year one to year two. When you talk about Jalen Hyatt, you talk about Dante Thornton, Ramel Keaton did that. I mean, Brew McCoy, there's guys who made real jumps. So the question is, how big of a jump does Mike Matthews make?
Yeah.
How big of a jump does Chris Brazzell make? I think Chris Brazzell made pretty clear that last year was tough. It was tough mentally. He had a hard time getting a grasp on things. I think it affected him. He got down on himself. I think he feels much more comfortable in year two thus far in spring. What does it look like when they get to the scrimmage field, when no coaches are out there? It gets more and more physical. We'll find out. Athletically, I think this is a really gifted group, AP.
There's just the unknown, and that's something I'm going to talk about the next several months. You don't know until you get to Atlanta and you play Syracuse, and until you get into September and you're hosting Georgia at home, what this group is. But I do think there's the potential there to be more athletic than they were a year ago, which says a lot considering Dante Thornton could pick them up and put them down speed-wise.
Yeah, I don't know if they've got that kind of vertical. Somebody can just take the top off of it the way he could. But I do think they can do a lot of things. I'm excited to see what Braylon Staley can do in the slot. I think he's a perfect fit for this offense slot-wise. But again, you're right. I mean, there's going to be so much about this team that we're not going to know until you see them play somebody. You're going to feel good about some guys on the offensive line, but what do they? You got to at center. You got to go do it in a game because the game's always going to be different. So there's going to be a lot of unknown, but I do think there's some positive things going right now. Josh Heupel, who rarely talks about the physicality, talked about he likes how physical his team has been thus far. We'll see if that translates into Monday night scrimmage.
Yeah, on both sides of the ball. And he talked about just kind of seeing where they're at coming up next Monday, in basically 6 days. He does like those two guards that they brought in, though, Wendell Moy, and then obviously, Sam Pendleton.
Yeah, I mean, they're supposed to be plug-and-play guys. I mean, you brought them in to be plug-and-play guys. They played a lot of football. I think both of them are pretty confident in where they are. Now, they're still grasping the pace of everything, adjusting on the fly and all that stuff. But I do think those guys have gotten off to a solid start. And, again, we'll see. Coming off of a break, had a week off, exactly what does that look like today? I think kind of getting back into it. We'll see a lot more about what they look like the end of this week and first part of next week.
Tennessee will be off tomorrow. They'll return to the practice field on Thursday before Tennessee has the coaches clinic this weekend and, of course, a practice on Saturday for all those coaches in attendance. He is Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price.